Okay. Opening up? I mean, going to open up to foreign travelers also? Or tomorrow? Oh. Even within the lift, huh? Mm. That'll be interesting. Yeah, maybe you have, may not be so convenient, yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah, what do I need to do? Oh, I'll just click this, okay. And then, okay, I have, okay, can you see? Okay, so this is continuing what we were speaking about Lord Kapila, how he was guiding his mother Devahuti, and he was encouraging his mother to take the association of sadhus, of holy people, because his mother had so much anxiety and stress and tension within her mind. She wanted to feel some relief from the effects of the material energy and all the situations. Her husband had gone away and renounced the world and left her in the care of her divine son. So Devahuti was fortunate that her son was Lord Kapila, who is a very empowered personality. So Lord Kapila had told his mother, you need to take shelter of a sadhu, you need to get good association. So we spoke about how to recognize the sadhu and what should be the nature of the actual holy man, what to look for. We said it's not enough just to have a beard and saffron colored cloth. There's much more. You want to see the qualities both internally and externally. So we spoke about that for 2 weeks. So now we're going to go on to speak about the results of that kind of association, right? We'll show here. Okay, so here you can see some nice devotees, right? The Goswamis. So what occurs naturally in sadhu's association? When we get that opportunity to actually associate with holy people, what's going to actually happen naturally? So we're going to have a look at exactly what happens in the association. You can see that what are these people doing? These Goswamis, these sadhus, they're discussing scriptures and they're discussing different aspects of scriptures and how to apply the philosophy, how to understand different points. This is how sadhus associate. Here you can see more. Sadhus associating together, right? Coming together, and you can see how they behave, what do they do. There's going to be some activities in the association of devotees, first of all, right? That's important. You have to get the right association. We need to get the association with pure-hearted souls who are serious about Krishna consciousness. Then, in the right association, then you can feel the effects. You will feel the benefit. So coming together with devotees is definitely very powerful. We encourage people always, try to take association, try to come together, meet together, because you can feel the spiritual energy when you come together. You can feel the potency of being in a group with other devotees and hearing, chanting, right? So discussion of the philosophy and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. So coming together in the association of devotees to discuss the activities of the Personality of Godhead. And this activity should be very pleasing and satisfying to both the ear and to the heart. This is very much required for all of us. We have to develop some taste for these things. We should take pleasure in these activities. It shouldn't be that, oh, I have to go there, I have to sit and listen. You know, if we come with that kind of attitude, well, it's better than not coming, but it's not very good. The attitude is very, very important. If you read the book called Nectar of Instruction, or Upadesh Amrita, in the preface, Srila Prabhupada has written, everything depends on the attitude of the disciple. So the right attitude is very crucial for us to get the maximum benefit from these activities. We should feel that this kind of association is very important for us and is helping us. When we have the right attitude, then hearing or discussion, even better than just hearing, is discussion, right? We hear for a little while, and then we want to discuss. Just like devotees like to read the books, Prabhupada said more important than just reading is discussing with devotees, or explaining and then discussing. So we try to do like that. We encourage devotees, discuss, speak out. What are you feeling? Are you feeling some pleasure? Are you not? Are you dissatisfied? You're not very happy with the thing? It should be satisfying. It should be pleasing to the ear and the heart. Of course, it depends on the speaker, and it also depends on the audience. The audience's mood has to be right. So the effects of hearing, discussing in the association of devotees is that by cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. This is the purpose of coming in the association of sadhus, of saintly people, that we will naturally advance on this path of liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from anxiety. Liberation from the mind, from all the influence of the mind and our attachments. Liberation from the modes of nature, particularly from the passion and the ignorance which we're often absorbed in. So cultivating this knowledge is very important. And it says one gradually becomes advanced. It's not just going to be one time, immediately, I'll finish, okay. It's going to take some time. We have to be patient. We have to gradually, regularly cultivate this knowledge, and certainly it will take effect. There's nothing wrong with the process. We just have to apply it properly. So we advance on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed. Right? Liberation. We got free, means we got free from the material energy. Just like in this illustration, you can see the Lord coming on the back of Garuda to pick up the devotee from the ocean of the material existence. So we want to get freed from that ocean of material existence. We want to get freed from all of the illusion and the ignorance which binds us to the material world. To get actually free, we're tied up in the modes. The gunas, guna means rope, so we're tied up. Somebody has to untie us. We need that sadhu to come, to cut the rope or to untie the knot, to get us free from this material. And so we need that help of the sadhus. It's very important. We have to therefore be willing to hear from them and to associate with them. So we get freed, then the result, then his attraction becomes fixed. You can see how different stages of the devotional path are being described in this sloka, how we're coming to higher levels, because hearing and discussing was cleansing the heart, taking away the contamination, what we call the anarthas, the contamination, the material desires in the heart, the attachments. So the knowledge was taking away these things, removing the anarthas. And when all of these things are removed from the heart, then we develop this taste. We start to take pleasure and feel more and more pleasure in kirtan and in the katha. And we go on to the state, our attraction becomes fixed, right? Asakti. Asakti, this is the stage of asakti. So, devotional service is described in the different levels, beginning with faith, and then sadhu sangha, associating with devotees. Then from sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, engaging in the different devotional activities. And then anartha nivritti. And this anartha nivritti is a very demanding stage. Takes some time to go through this. But after we get through with anartha nivritti, then we come to nishta. We become steady and ruchi, we get taste. And then we go on to this asakti, we become fixed. We're actually convinced that this is really what I should be doing. I want to dedicate myself in this way. And you can see the result. You go back home, back to Godhead. You can see Krishna welcoming the cowherd boy back into his company. So then real devotion and devotional service begin. From asakti, then comes to bhava and prema. All right, prema punarto mahan, the goal of life is to develop Krishna prem. We want to go back to Godhead, we should have this love. We shouldn't think, oh no, so many cows. We should be so happy to be with all the cowherd boys, to be with all the cows, to be in Vrindavan, in the village, with the river Yamuna, Govardhan Hill. We should feel ecstatic. This is the gifts of the devotee, the sadhus, the holy men. They're giving us this blessing. They're helping us on the path back home, back to Godhead. So we want to take advantage of their association to help us on this path, to go there. We should want very much, we should always be thinking about going back home, back to Godhead. One day we want to get free from this material world. So this is important for us. This is a real gift of the sadhu, that he's helping us on this path to get back to Krishna, to revive our Krishna consciousness. We were all originally Krishna conscious, Srila Prabhupada says, but somehow we've come into this material world. And it's the sadhus, it's the holy teachers who help us to get back to the spiritual world, to come back to Krishna. So we have to seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Just like in the illustration, you can see Prabhupada coming there to meet his spiritual master. So we should have this desire that we want to associate with such devotees. Devotees who are engaged in devotional service, who are always thinking how to spread Krishna consciousness and how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. They're always planning different things, different ways to attract more people to take an interest in Krishna consciousness. The devotees are in that mood. They're always thinking like that. They were planning more and more endeavors to introduce Krishna consciousness, taking every opportunity. Just like just now with the COVID virus going on, still the devotees are thinking how to give people Krishna consciousness. I was just reading how devotees in London, they came up with the idea to have a meditation kit, and they gave it out to all the people in the hospital and all the care clinics where all the patients with the COVID are going. You know, so many health workers are there and they're risking their lives to associate with all the sick people. So the devotees had the idea to encourage them that they would give a free meditation kit. And they put a couple of books like Perfection of Yoga and Beyond Birth and Death. And then they put some incense and they put some little pamphlet about meditation and how to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Gave them some little japa beads also. And this way they distributed hundreds of these meditation kits in the hospitals and in the clinics everywhere, because so many people were affected there in England. So there was a very nice idea, trying to give Krishna consciousness, taking advantage of the situation to introduce people. It was very well received. Many nurses and doctors, they all took the meditation kit. And the devotees even put some incense in the packet as well, so they could light some incense when they're meditating. So this is devotees, and then of course other devotees, they're distributing prasadam everywhere, going everywhere, just giving prasadam for the doctors and the hospital workers also, as well as all the people nowadays, many people unemployed, lost their job, there's no work, and so they don't have money to give them food, give them prasadam. It's very much appreciated. We're certainly doing that in Thailand, in Pattaya, as well as Phuket. We've been distributing prasadam there for several days there. It went on for more than a month there in Pattaya and Phuket also. And it was very much appreciated by the local people, and it got the support also of the Hindu Sangha, and people also started to come. Some new people started coming to our programs. And so, like that, we have to preach, we have to think how to bring people to Krishna consciousness everywhere, every moment. So we want to point out, simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. Well, it's nice, people like to study and they want to get more knowledge, but if we really want advancement, it's going to take something a little more than that. It's not just simply book knowledge. Just like you may want to be a doctor, but you don't become a doctor just by only studying the books and just by memorizing everything in the books. You may have a lot of theoretical knowledge and you may have studied a lot, but we have to have a bit more than that if we really want to advance. What more do we need? We need to have the application of the knowledge. We have to have some realization first of all, and that realization will inspire us to act and to apply the knowledge. So just simply getting the knowledge is one part, but we have to go on from there to make real advancement. Without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Who could understand this situation? Here you see Grandfather Bhishma on his bed of arrows, and all the people are sitting around listening to him, and he's giving them all instructions. Particularly Maharaj Yudhishthira's come there, and he's very depressed because he's feeling responsible for the death of many people at the Kurukshetra war. Grandfather Bhishma is and enlightening him, giving him the knowledge that he should go on with his duty and should not consider it was his responsibility, but he should understand it was the arrangement of time that all of these things happen. Just like this coronavirus, you know, who to blame? Some people blame China, some people blame the meat eating, and all this. Who's responsible? Father Bhishma said, it's all due to time, the nature of time, which comes and takes away everything, ends everything. We're all under the control of time, and that time is Krishna. So we see everything as an arrangement of Lord Krishna. We have to understand all of these things with the association of devotees. So Krishna's pastimes are very mysterious, very bewildering. Who can understand them? We have to be guided by devotees. We have to hear. Only when one associates, what does it say? Only when one associates with devotees can one understand the absolute truth is a person. Yeah, only when one associates with devotees can one understand the absolute truth is a person. We are the Vaishnavas and we follow a personal philosophy. Other people generally, well, if they have any philosophy, most people are just materialists, they don't even think about philosophy. But there are, if they do philosophy, we find a lot more people are impersonal They think ultimately there's only the oneness or the nothingness, right? For the Buddhists it's the nothingness, the void, and for the impersonalists it's the oneness of the Brahman. But for the devotees, we understand the Absolute Truth as a person, right? Are you hearing? Everybody there?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, just so long as you can hear. It's a difficulty. I can't see so well, people. Oh, okay, let me put this on. I can see. Okay, so we want to understand the personal philosophy. Krishna is a person, and we are persons, right? We're individuals. Krishna is a person. We have a relationship with him. We want to cultivate that with the help of the sadhus, with the help of the holy teachers. They can guide us to cultivate this relationship with Krishna. Oh no, wait, I didn't talk about it. Only when one associates with devotees, and that he can have, only when one associates with devotees and understands the nature of the Lord, can he have that he has personal activities. The Lord is a person and he has personal activities. It's not that he does nothing, but the Lord is engaged in so many activities. Often giving pleasure to his devotees, and sometimes also doing things like protecting the devotees here, picking up Govardhan Hill so he can associate with them. And sometimes also he will perform activities like killing the demons as well. The Lord has many different activities. We have to understand, being a person, that he will want to engage in acts. Krishna likes to have activities with his devotees. He comes to this world simply for that purpose, to give pleasure to his devotees. And he does it by performing his different activities. Devotees take pleasure in hearing about Krishna's activities. So when one associates with devotees, okay. Unless one has personal understanding of the Absolute Truth, there's no meaning to devotion. It's important for us to understand the nature of God, the Absolute Truth. Higher than the concept even of God is the Absolute Truth. Because there are many gods, right? But there's only one Absolute Truth. That personnel and that Absolute Truth is a person. And our duty is to develop devotion for that one person who is the manifestation of the Absolute Truth. So we want to develop this understanding. This is another gift of the sadhus. In the association of the teachers, we will hear about the nature of the Absolute Truth. And we will learn how to cultivate devotion. We will learn how to worship the deity, how to offer our foodstuffs to him, how to chant different prayers glorifying the Lord. All of these things we practice in the association of devotees. So devotion has to have some substance, not just sentimentality. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna shows the universal form to Arjuna. So some people are very attracted to the universal form, and they like to even worship the universal form. But it's a very different thing. How can you serve the universal form? Can you dress the universal form? Can you feed the universal form? So, impersonalism does not encourage devotion. We want to use our devotional philosophy to offer to a person, understanding Krishna is a person. And as a person, he has senses. He can hear. So when we offer prayers, he can hear. And he has eyes. He sees us. When we bow down before him, he can see us. There's a story, the blind man was asking his friend, take me to the temple. And his friend said, well, why do you want to go to the temple? You can't see anything, you're blind. But the blind man said, I cannot see, but I want Krishna to see me. So the deity, Lord Krishna, is a person. He has senses, he has eyes, he can see, he can hear, he can walk. And all of these different incidences have taken place. There are deities known to have walked. There are deities which eat. There are so many examples showing how the Lord is a person and he acts also through the deities. We have to understand all these things by hearing from the books. Prabhupada's books, very important. Reading the books, discussing regularly, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, very helpful for us. So when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation opens and he is freed. So when we make that attempt, we think about the Lord, we contemplate his activities, we want to understand them. Of course, the way to understand them is by hearing and discussing in the association of devotees. And the result of this opens up the path to liberation. We say by association with devotees, it opens the doors to liberation. Mahat sevam dwara mahur vimuktes. But if you associate with materialists, with the opposite kind of people, then it opens the doors to hell. Then we're completely degraded, we're put into the darkest region of ignorance. So association, very important. The path to liberation opens up. You can see all the liberated souls, the devotees, chanting and dancing. This is liberation. No material anxiety. Just simply chanting, dancing, hearing the holy name and the association of devotees. All the devotees dressed nicely, dhotis and saris. Their faces all marked with tilak, neck beads around their neck, kuntimala. In this way, the spiritual world, it's not different from the spiritual world. So association with devotees means association with Krishna. There's no difference. Like Arjuna is with Krishna, he's associated. Wherever Krishna goes, Arjuna goes with him. And Prabhupada explained, he said, Arjuna doesn't go back to Godhead, he stays with Krishna. And wherever Krishna goes, Arjuna goes, and Krishna will speak the Bhagavad Gita to him. Right now, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. In the same way, when Prabhupada was here, Prabhupada was speaking to all of us about Krishna. He was speaking constantly about Krishna, telling us about Krishna. So Krishna's name is not different from Krishna, the person. So this is association. We take the opportunity to hear. We associate with devotees, and it brings, we will feel the presence of Krishna. We will feel the divine nature of the Lord through his narrations, through his pastimes, through hearing his teachings. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's words. So, speaking Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's there. The devotee who makes the association develops a consciousness for rendering service to the Lord. So when we associate with the devotees, it helps us to develop that mood to give service to Krishna. We come to the temple and we see the devotees in the temple, somebody's cooking, somebody's cleaning. We should want to help, right? We want to do some service. What can I do to help? So that's the nature of association. Awakens the mood to give service to Krishna. We associate with sadhus. The sadhus are serving Krishna. We also want to serve. We want to follow their example. Being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, a devotee gradually becomes perfect. So we want to come to the transcendental position is there, is automatically achieved as soon as we engage in devotional service. As described in Bhagavad Gita, Mamchayo vaya bicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatichekam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That when we engage in devotional service, we immediately come to the level of Brahman. That's the transcendental position. So devotional service begins on the level of Brahman, but we have to go on from there. Right? We say the devotee gradually becomes perfect. We're on the transcendental position, but we have to go on from that. We have to become perfect. We have to develop our love for Krishna. So from the platform of Brahman, we begin our devotional service, and then we go on to develop this asakti and root bhava and prema. These things come to we want to come to the perfection, the highest level of devotion. Okay, so it's a short presentation this morning. Any questions? Anybody has any questions before you all go off to work? Yes, I can hear you, Prabhu. My business.
I just have one question and question. Vaishnava devotees associate in engaging with the services, but impersonally considered devotees, but they have no engagement. So, can we consider them as a devotees?
Impersonalists?
Yeah, impersonalists, they cannot engage in anything because impersonalists, they have no forms or whatever. Whereas Vaishnavas considering there is Lord, they want to engage person to person.
Yes.
So how do we say that impersonalists are the devotees? We consider them as a devotees?
No, impersonalists are not devotees. They are transcendentalists, but they're not devotees. The impersonalist is a transcendentalist because if he's actually an impersonalist, then he's given up attachment to the body. He's understood he's not the body. He's understood he's a soul. So he's transcendental. But he's not a devotee because he does not understand Krishna's position. He does not understand the position of the Absolute Truth. He simply thinks in terms of oneness. He's thinking only the oneness of Brahman. So the impersonalists, they don't usually engage in devotional service. They want to stop all activities. Because they consider that all activities are material. So they think also chanting Hare Krishna is material. They think also taking prasadam is material. They don't understand the nature of the devotional service. And they think when Krishna comes into this material world that he has a material body, he has a material form. So the impersonalists have these problems. So they're not devotees, but they are transcendentalists. They're detached from sense gratification. They've understood they're not the body. Their realization is simply, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. But they don't understand that Krishna is the supreme Brahman. You see? So that's the difference. The impersonalists, they don't recognize Krishna as the supreme Brahman. They're simply thinking everyone is Brahman. Can understand?
Yeah. That means there is no ultimate benefits in that sector as impersonalists.
Yeah, there's no benefit for the impersonalists. That's actually a hellish condition, impersonalism. Their goal is simply to get Sayuja Mukti, to merge into the oneness of Brahman. But that kind of liberation is not eternal. It is only temporary. So for some time they will be in the impersonal Brahman, but because the nature of the soul is to have activity, they will come back to the material world. So even if they enter into the spiritual sky, into the Brahma Jyoti, they won't stay there because there's no activity, there's no relationship. But the nature of the soul is to want activity and to want relationship. And these relationships are perfected in relation to Krishna. Spiritual activities, spiritual relationship. But for the impersonalist, their idea is to negate everything. No personality, no relationship, no concept of enjoyment. So their pleasure, the happiness of their realization is very, very small, very insignificant compared to the happiness of devotional service. So that is why impersonalists, when they may achieve some level of advancement, but after some time they come back and they take up welfare activities. They will engage in welfare activities, like they'll open a school, or they'll open a mundane educational institute, or they may open a hospital, or they do these kind of welfare activities, because they do not know what is actually spiritual activity. They don't know that they don't feel the pleasure in chanting the holy name or in studying the scriptures. They're thinking, and even they worship the deity to become one with that just now we're doing it, but eventually we will give it up. So they're thinking that bhakti or their activities are the means to that oneness, and ultimately they'll give up all activities. But the devotee, we will serve Krishna here, and when we go to the spiritual world, we will continue to serve Krishna. So we speak about Sanatana Dharma, eternal religion. We're serving here, and we go on and serve Krishna in the spiritual world also. But impersonalists, their goal is to give up all activity, to stop everything. Negation. So they're not devotees. But they can become devotees. They can become... The problem is sometimes they're very attached to the impersonal philosophy. And impersonalism makes the heart very hard. They become proud of their austerities or their knowledge. They don't have compassion, they don't have the feeling for others. Yes. Right.
Yeah, one more thing from Maharaj, when a person is free of anxiety and attachment, can we consider that he is a liberated person?
Well, somebody may be free from anxiety, may be free from attachment, they may just be irresponsible. they say, oh, I'm not attached, they couldn't care, you know. And they have no anxiety, they don't think about anything, they don't worry about anything, don't consider. It doesn't actually mean liberation. Some people even, you know, they may take some kind of intoxication or something so that they don't have anxiety, so that they don't have attachments. So that kind of liberation, that is not actual liberation. Actual liberation means to actually engage in devotional service. And devotional service brings one immediately, quickly on the liberated platform. But we have to understand what are we doing. We should understand the activity and the purpose. We should understand Krishna is the Supreme. We are His servant. We're doing devotional service. It's our duty, our nature. But then we're all servants. We have that mood to give service. Everyone has some kind of mood to serve others. We serve the family, we serve the country, we serve society, we serve the dog, you know, so everywhere the mood, that service mood is there. But the perfection of service is when we direct our service towards the Supreme Lord. Because by serving the Supreme Lord, then everyone benefits. So service to Krishna is beneficial for everyone. We see Krishna in the hearts of all living entities. And we think how to help them, how to give them Krishna consciousness. We want to bring everyone to Krishna consciousness. So just being free from anxiety and attachment, you know, for some time somebody may be like that, but he has no real knowledge, he has no real realization. He may just be carefree and irresponsible. But a devotee understands everything in relation to Krishna. So it's not we should give up all attachment, but we should purify attachment. And there is spiritual anxiety, spiritual attachment. Anxiety in relation to our service to Krishna, an attachment to the devotees, attachment to service to Krishna, attachment to the deities, attachment to devotional service. That's pure attachment. You don't want to just give up everything. That's impersonalism. Okay, any other questions there?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Sudarshan Das here. I have a question. Just now, Guru Maharaj, you mentioned that we should be very eager in wanting to always be thinking of wanting to go back to Golokha Vrindavan. Shouldn't we be thinking more of what Krishna desires and how Krishna, I mean, it's not so much that we want to go to Golokha Vrindavan, but we should be wanting to serve Krishna. Is that wrong for us to think that way? I feel sometimes it might be selfish that you're just trying to escape material world and not spiritual world.
Yes, well, sometimes Prabhupada would encourage us to go back to Godhead, and other times he would encourage us just to stay here and do service. But generally, we should think about the spiritual world, and we should develop attachment to Krishna. Because thinking about the spiritual world means also thinking of Krishna, Krishna's abode, Krishna's place, all the devotees there. So we have to absorb our mind in thinking of Krishna. That's important. Krishna said, you know, the Bhagavad Gita, the most confidential knowledge, engage your mind in thinking of me. Manmana bhava mad bhakto, right? So how to think of Krishna? We have to think of Krishna's, his home, his residence, his pastimes, his activities. So in this way we think of the spiritual world. And Prabhupada does write in a purport how one should be fascinated with the spiritual world, and one should think also about going there. One lady, I remember there was one devotee, she had some disease, she was dying, leaving the body, and she said to Prabhupada, somehow she met Prabhupada, she said, Prabhupada, I just want to come back again and distribute your books. But Prabhupada said, no, that's all right, you could just go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada was encouraging her not to worry about coming back to distribute books, but to go back to Godhead. Now, ultimately it's up to Krishna. If Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead, he'll take us. If Krishna wants us to stay here and do more service here, he will arrange it. So, we want to surrender to Krishna. What is Krishna's will? What does Krishna want us to go some other place, to do some more preaching activities here? Krishna will arrange it. He'll put us someplace. But if Krishna wants us to go back to Godhead, we can. Jiva Goswami actually said, before we go back to Godhead, we have to take birth where Krishna is performing his pastimes. So Krishna's pastimes are going on continually in the material world. So in some other universe, we may take birth there. But if Krishna is there, then it's as good as going back to Godhead. Because Krishna is there. So that is going back to Godhead, being with Krishna. So Krishna's preaching, he's traveling around the material world, preaching, teaching Krishna consciousness. We want to be with him. That's the main thing, to be with Krishna. Okay. Okay, Padmalochan Prabhu.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, so we spoke about the impersonalists. Guru Maharaj, can you share with all of us here how some of the impersonalists have also become devotees due to association?
Well, I was an impersonalist before I became a devotee. When I went to the temple, first of all, they said to me, do you know who God is? I said, I'm God, you're God, we're all God, it's all one. Because I'd been reading a lot of impersonal books. And so then they laughed at me, and then they started preaching to me, and they made me a devotee. So there are many. Of course, you know, I wasn't a real impersonalist, but, you know, I was thinking in impersonal ways. Because the impersonal philosophy has been distributed everywhere. And it's a very attractive concept. The concept is that we're all God. So that's very attractive, you know. We're always thinking, I'd like to be God, you know. And so one way we try to be a little God, we try to enjoy the material world. We try to be God in that way, just enjoying everything and controlling everything. And then when we fail, then we think about trying to become God, becoming one with the Supreme Absolute, and negating everything. So the impersonal philosophy is, you know, it's appealing to our ego. The idea of becoming one with the Supreme. But if we have to understand, you know, we're not God, we're the servant. Oh no, I'm the servant. Oh no, you know. I have to be humble, I have to be the servant. You know, so the impersonal concept is alluring, attracts people. The mood to become the servant, to take up devotion, to humble oneself, to lower oneself, think of oneself as tiny, insignificant servant of the servant of the servant, you know. It takes a lot of purification of heart. But impersonalism, oh great, you know, I'm God, I'm one, I've become one with the Supreme. So becoming devoted from the impersonalist path, we do find that some people are attracted to kirtan, the holy name, and also the prasadam. Also impersonalists, they do a lot of dry renunciation. They don't have nice prasadam. So, you know, you want to preach to an impersonalist, these two things are very important. Nice prasadam and also kirtan, the chanting of the holy name. That this can help to change them. You know, we cannot be like Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya met with the Mayavadis in Benares and he was preaching to them, and by his humility, and then he exhibited that effulgence, you know, because he's the Supreme Lord, he exhibited a great effulgence, and so they thought he'd become Narayan, and they were all honoring him and respecting him. They saw him as a liberated soul who'd already achieved perfection, who'd already achieved liberation. So we cannot do that kind of preaching, but a good way to preach to impersonalists, don't spend too much time arguing and discussing philosophy with them. Just let them get a taste for chanting the holy name with nice kirtan and nice prasadam. And gradually they can accept the philosophy. So many people came to Krishna consciousness like this, by prasadam and kirtan.
Sometimes Guru Maharaj chanting the impersonalists, they are also praying to the devas with their forms, but they consider themselves impersonalists. So they are very complicating, very confusing.
Yeah, they pray to the devas, but ultimately they're thinking it's all one. They're thinking the deva is only the means to enter into this oneness. So that they see the deva as not as some actual entity, but just as some kind of a medium into the oneness. Just some kind of symbol, something for them to contemplate on, to absorb their mind in, but ultimately there's only the oneness.
Does that mean they are not reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam and all this?
Well, they have their own philosophy. They have their Bhagavad Gita with their own commentaries, with their own purports, you see. You have to understand there are many Bhagavad Gitas. And even the translation, just like I heard, one devotee was reading Bhagavad Gita verse, and he said, Prabhupada, he said, this is exactly how the impersonalists translate this verse. And Prabhupada said, yes, but the Vaishnava purport is not there. So the Vaishnava purport is very important, very powerful. You want to understand the Bhagavad Gita, you want to understand scriptures, you have to have the Vaishnava purports to understand them, not just the verse. Okay? Yes? Hello? Hello? You have a question?
You have a question? Hare Krishna. Yeah, I think Sujata Mataji was trying to. Guru Maharaj, I also read somewhere that even Sukadev Goswami was an impersonalist before, before he heard the Bhagavatam from his father.
Yes. Well, that example is there to show the power of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. that Sukadeva Goswami was fixed on the platform of Brahman. And similarly, the four Kumaras were also impersonalists, but they went to the spiritual world, and they, just by smelling the aroma of tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord, they became devotees. So those two examples are there. They're in the scriptures. Sukadeva Goswami, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a logician. Yeah, he was made into a devotee by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching. The Mayavadi sannyasis at Benares, headed by Prakashananda Saraswati, they also began to chant the holy name and the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So giving association through the holy name, through prasadam, this can help to change the mind of the impersonalist. Well, gradually means, yeah, it's going to take some time. It doesn't happen, it's not just, clap your hands 3 times and abracadabra and it's all there, No, it's going to take some time. We have to apply the process. So like in Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami mentions items which are necessary for advancement. One of them is patience. Patience. We have to be determined. We have to be, at the same time, enthusiastic. We have to also be patient. Sometimes we expect to get everything very quickly, very easily. Like, we want a degree. You don't get a postgraduate degree. You don't get honorary degrees. Honorary degree, they may give to some person an honorary degree. Is very rare, not very common. Ordinary people, we don't get honorary degrees. Even Padmalochan had to go to study university to get his degree, right? He didn't get honorary degree. Rabindranath Tagore, he got honorary degree. He was called to Oxford, they gave him degree. It's very, very rare. In the same way, we want to get progress, it's going to take time. It's a gradual process. Prabhupada told one devotee, he said, it took me 32 years to perfect this chanting. So Prabhupada was telling the devotee, it's going to take some time. You have to be patient. Doesn't happen immediately. The girl gets married, she immediately wants a child. It's going to take some time. Right? She doesn't get the child immediately. And so the same way, we want to become Krishna conscious, it's going to take some time. We have to be patient, and we have to practice. And gradually, it comes. Just like the stone can be rubbed away by water. It takes time. So our heart is like stone. Because we've been in the material world a long time, we have a lot of conditioning there. We have to gradually get rid of all this conditioning. We have to gradually soften the heart, rub the heart, make it smooth. Okay? Haribol, Prabhu. I'm not hearing you, Prabhu. Can you... Yeah, speak up, shout.
Yes, I will. You talked about materialists also, they worship the universal gigantic form of the Lord, right? And that also leads to the right path. And but we all know that reality is some rest imaginary and also material, which is also the universal form. How do we convince now those who worship the universal form and also the impersonal form, so that the material form is the universal form is the material form and the real entity is Krishna. How do we bring them to think that the universal form is the material form? It's not the real entity itself.
So, how do we convince people that they're not the body, in other words?
The universal form is the material form itself.
Oh.
It's not the real entity.
Well, the universal forms, a material form, we can understand that it's made up of all the elements of the material nature. And the elements of material nature themselves are not eternal. They're manifest for some time, and then they're dissolved. Then there's a annihilation of everything. So, the same way that universal form is a temporary form. It's not an eternal form. But the Lord has an eternal form, which is not material. It's not made of material elements. It's a transcendental form, spiritual energy. We say Satchidananda Vigraha, right? A form of eternity, bliss and knowledge. So there's different forms. Our body is material, and the universal form is also material, made up of the material elements. Takes birth, and ultimately there's destruction. But there is eternal forms in the spiritual world. Just like we're on the earth planet, our bodies are made of earth. If we go into the sea, everything is they have different bodies. They have more watery bodies. You go into the sun planet, there are also living entities. They have fire bodies. Different planets are different environments, different conditions. And according to the different conditions, different bodies are there. So, beyond this material creation, there is a spiritual creation, an eternal creation. And there are living entities there who have eternal bodies.
So the universal form is part of the Garbhodakshaya universe.
No. No, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he is at the bottom of the universe. He's laying there on the Garbhodak ocean, and the universe has come from his navel, right? The lotus flower grows out from his navel, and
Universal form is not part of the Garbhodakshaya realm.
No. Universal form is just a godless. Prabhupada describes it in the purport in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The universal form is a godless display of opulence.
That means an expansion of the material energy, Guru Maharaj. That means it is an expansion of the material energy of the Lord.
It's a display of the material energy of the Lord. Thank you.
I don't know any other questions. We have got a number of devotees from Malaysia here. Nandini Mataji is here. Rajhari Prabhu, Sudarshan Prabhu, Gopinath Prabhu from Singapore, Ramananda Raya, Gauri Mataji, Singapore, Dadavir Prabhuji, Purnima Mataji, Singapore, Joyce, Singapore,
Okay.
Cindy, Chitra, Siva, Yashoda, Mai, Jess, Deepa, Mataji, Udoni, Sadir, and Roshalia. Many of them were, a few others were here earlier on, but they dropped off because they were going back to work.
Or some are already back to work.
Yes.
Not everyone's starting tomorrow.
A few of them are back. Those who are still in, those who are part of essential services, they would have already gone back.
Okay. So,
Like Linda Martinez is also part of essential services, but she's in the operating theatre. She still does all the audio and listens to the class.
okay.
Hey, Guru Maharaj, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prabhus. Thank you. Have a good week. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Pranams. Hare Krishna. Okay.